come back, you play, you work your socks off, and then you work your move out of that. And Pierre did the wrong thing by doing what he did, and I told him so to his face. And when you walk in as a player, you have a feeling of this is a proper football club surrounded by history. And that's the best you can say about any football club.
Still Collymore, Stone onto his right foot. Oh, it's a brilliant equaliser, right at the death. Stone!
Well, what a season he's having. Everything he touches at the moment turns to gold for Nottingham Forest, for England.
Of course, as a young boy it was to play for Newcastle, simple as that. And it ended up going to Forest, never wanted to leave because of the feeling when you got there as soon as you walked through those doors. And it was a great feeling that never left. My father never told me about Newcastle coming back in for us, or Sunderland a couple of years later. Before it was about, the 16-year-old and before you leave home, and my dad just wanted me to go to Forest. That was a team at the time which had just won European Cups. You're talking about 79, 80, and this was 84, 85 period. And he wanted to get me out of the Newcastle area where all my friends were in troubles. Newcastle, Sunderland at the time weren't football clubs that you would actually look at and think of as big clubs, hadn't won anything for years. So Forest was a perfect fit, and especially for the type of football they played.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I suppose as a young person, it was quite a wrench for you to leave Newcastle. As a city, let alone as a place?
To leave the city, it actually wasn't a problem. I was excited to be a footballer, and I wanted to be a footballer wherever it was going to take me. I was so driven, and you speak to most sportsmen, they're so driven, even from the age of 12, 13, 14, that they know what they want to do in life, and mine was to be a footballer. And as soon as Forest came along, there was no thoughts of me actually staying in Newcastle, staying in this area, wanting to grow up in this area as an adult. I wanted to go somewhere where it was going to benefit me as a footballer. And like I said, as soon as I walked through the doors at Forest, it was like, I've got to stay here. I've just got to stay here. The football was ingrained. They'd won stuff. They had championships up on the wall. You could see the history of the European Cups. They had a team that was fighting for the title every single year. My first encounter with Brian Clough was, I was just about to sign schoolboy forms, and I came to watch a reserve game, and a reserve game used to be played on the same day as the first team games on a Saturday back in the day, and he was coming out of the offices at Nottingham. Came out, somebody introduced me to say, "This is Mr. Steve Stone, he's going to join us." He says, "All right, shithead, you better be good." And I didn't know what to say, and I was frightened in case my dad was going to say something stupid as well. So I put my head down and just got through there. And that was the first of many times he called me shithead. Brian would come and watch certain games, but he wouldn't watch every sort of youth team game. So what he would do would, he'd come watch a game and he would pick a player out, and Archie again would tell him who the decent players were, and you'd actually get to go to his house. He would then see what type of person you were. Not just what the footballer was, he'd get to talk to you about your family background and everything about where you come from, your mum and dad did, all those sort of things, just to talk to you. So then he'd set you off in the garden, and he says, "Listen, son, I want you over there in that corner, and I want you just to mow that grass and just get that sorted, and just make sure you watch them flowers, don't stand on them, just watch that. I'll be back out in a couple of hours, and we'll have some lunch and all that." Well, of course, me, now that I'd called Craig Boardman, just thought, I'm not listening to him, really. We mowed the grass, we trampled all down all the flowers to lift all the grass over the top of the hedge to put it in there. He came out, he went absolutely berserk. They were his prize flowers, his prize roses. We'd absolutely just trampled them all into the ground. He just went mental, but he forgot it within about a couple of minutes. And he was back on talking about football again and talking about all about us, and that's what he was interested in, So that was him trying to, produce his flowers and produce his beautiful stuff for his garden. But really, he wanted to know all about me and Craig Boardman. At the time, you were just trying to get contracts all the time. You were trying to get from the youth team to the reserves, to the reserves to the first team, and the leg breaks just came along when you were just getting somewhere all the time. I felt as if I was just getting somewhere with the youth team to get in the reserves. Broke my leg, My own fault. Tried to smash through a tackle that I should never have went for. Probably very naive as a kid. Second one came along, which just re-broke. I was playing Alfreton Town. One of the local thugs thought he'd just come through as make a name for himself playing against a Forest side. Out for another year. Just get myself back in the reserves, trying to get near the first team, being in a couple of squads. And the same again. I was out for another year after that. And the first 2 leg breaks weren't really a problem. They just healed, came straight back out, got on with playing. Didn't have any issues with them whatsoever. But the third one became a real problem in terms of the bone was sticking together. I was getting pain down the sides of my legs. Physio wasn't really coming up with a solution, or the surgeon that I was actually going to be able to come back from this. And that's when the worrying times really started to kick in. What actually are you going to do? The education side of me was just a non-existent as I went through my school life, because I concentrated so much on football, and that was a real problem. Eventually someone decided to stick some cortisone injection in the side of the leg just to try and release some of the muscle and the bone together, and it just worked. And by the age of 21 I was then free of broken legs, but for 4 years it was horrendous. But what that actually did, it gave me character. When you spend 9 months in a gym watching other people play football outside, and then to break your leg again and to have to go back in for 9 months, and then to have to go break it again and have to go back in for a year, you develop some steel, you develop some real character about you. I didn't actually know I was going to be playing until the morning of the game. I actually didn't have my boots with us. I had to borrow a pair of boots off Gary Bannister the day of the game, because I actually thought I had no chance of being involved in the game. And you had to, in them days, you had to put your boots in the skip yourself. You had to give them to the kit man. I didn't even give them. I didn't even think I had a chance of playing. So I got to the ground, names the team, I'm playing. Okay, what am I going to wear? I have to wear Gary Bannister's boots, which were a size too small to kill us. And you're in a relegation battle, and this is a proper 6-pointer. You go to Middlesbrough, who I think was second bottom, we were third bottom, and we've got some really good players in the team still. You know, you're looking at Stuart Pearce, Nigel Clough, Roy Keane was playing centre half that day. There's some proper players. It's a proper football team with people who once again they've won stuff at top level, and they're fighting in this relegation battle. And I remember Ian Woon taking a short corner and whipping it in, and I've just took a run from the edge of the box, and definitely not renowned for me heading flying off my old slap head, and flew in the top corner. And I had about 30 family members there who travelled down from Newcastle to come and watch it, and it didn't get any better than that, and it probably didn't get any better than that for a couple of years because of the situation what happened to Forest afterwards. But as debuts go, it just didn't get any better than that. It was a fantastic debut with all your family there.
Hartfield, Gale, a free header and a goal for Sheffield United. That might be the final nail in the Forest coffin.
Why do you think Forest have gone down?
We're not good enough.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
And what about the manager?
Well, I think he must have contributed to it somewhere along the line. I don't think he's been good enough either.
Could just sense where senior players were getting a little bit older and wanted to sort of move on to bigger and better things. Bigger money was coming into the game. There was a lot of things that were happening at the football club that I didn't really see at the time, that now looking back were causing a problem. The fact that Brian wasn't there as much was probably the major influence on what was happening. If the main man is not around as much, then it's very difficult for his lieutenants, i.e. his coaching staff, to try and keep it all together, and that's why it all went downhill in the end. And it was a sad thing to see, because he'd been a hero of mine when I got there. He'd been instrumental in me coming there. He'd give me my debut. He'd kept us for all those years through injuries, but realistically for him it was time to leave, and it was a sad moment because of how he left, but not sad because he actually had to leave. There was myself and Neil Webb, who played centre midfield, and Webby was the passer and I was the runner, but we kept losing games. I think we won one game 5-3 at home to Grimsby. We lost away somewhere like Millwall, badly. We just couldn't put anything together. And then there was a home game against Portsmouth, and it was 1-0, and they were down the bottom three, Portsmouth, with about 3 minutes to go. And I've got one, and I've curled one in the top corner with a bit of a scoop. It's not a great goal, and it's made it 1-1. And the relief that went round that changing rooms and that stadium, it felt like a weight had been lifted, because it was just a doom and gloom all the time. From that game, we just went on, we just kept winning, and we just built belief. But before that team was in a bit of trouble. We were having team meetings at pubs and all trying to pull everybody together and having team meals and having a night out, trying to get us all together in the right direction, and it took a lot of doing. And credit to Frank and Alan Hill at the time, Liam O'Kane, Archie Gemmell, them coaching staff, they brought us all together and dragged us through that little period.
Right wing role for you?
Well, that's where it all changed as well, to be honest with you. If you look what they did after that, they brought David Phillips in, they brought Lars Bohinen in. Neil Webb then struggled to get in the team. He was having problems with his Achilles tendon. Ian Woolm went on one side and I went on the other side. And all of a sudden, with the energy I had, I didn't have the responsibility of tracking people back. I had the responsibility of then getting in the box, trying to cross it, trying to score goals, trying to help your full-back, and just basically a bit of a headless chicken, if I'm honest, without really knowing the game. And it worked because you had some better players in the middle of the midfield, and we looked stronger as a unit. And then all of a sudden you had that awful player called Stan Collymore. Just all of a sudden he just hit form and started scoring goals from everywhere. And then we understood what he needed. He used to play on the shoulder, and we needed to put the ball in behind from him. And it was all about finding out what Stan wanted as well. We'll keep it tight, we'll work hard, we'll defend deep at times, we'll suck teams on, and Stan will hit them on the break. And Stan won games on his own. He was that good.
Black. Long ball for Collymore, that's food and drink to him, he loves the ball played there. Collymore looking dangerous again. Magnificent! Bohinen with the long ball, Collymore on the chase. Now what will Stan do from here? Oh, that is magnificent. Stan Collymore.
Yes, again. Cross in once more. It's Stone who scored. It's 2-2.
Stuart Pearce has put Forest level. Well, if Forest could get one more now, promotion is assured. What better than a Collymore goal? His 24th of the season will be celebrated, and never has it been more precious.
Even though we'd been promoted quite convincingly from the Championship, I thought we don't have enough. We signed Brian Roy. I think was probably one of the only people that we signed, and what a signing that was. I was excited but nervous, and I didn't realise that we had enough about us to go on and do what we did. First game was away at Ipswich. We won 1-0, I think. Brian Roy got the ball on the edge of the box, twisted somebody up and bent one in the far corner. And the quality he brought to that team on that day, along with Stan, was the difference to that football team. You can have, all the right wingers you want, all left wingers, centre midfield players. But if you get a solid shape in football and you've got people who can score goals, they were the key, I'm telling you. They were just on fire that whole season. And because you start winning games, you start growing in belief. And you could see the team growing in belief all the way through the season. All of a sudden I start coming out, Michelle, thinking I'm a real proper right winger, when I probably wasn't. I was just developing the role. Ian Wool's now scoring goals from 30 yards as well as creating them, and turned into the player everybody knew he was and could be 2 seasons before when they got relegated. Lars Bohinen found himself in the Premiership being a top player, taking the ball from the back all the way up to the top of the pitch, dribbling past people. There was an excitement and a freshness, and what we said earlier, there was youngsters in that team with energy, and that is key.
So how excited were you to be playing in Europe?
As good as it's going to get, but you don't appreciate it at the time. It's one of those that you appreciate the further you get in the competition. I think we had to play Malmo first, and there was a big thing made of it because obviously Forest had beat them in the European Cup final many years ago. We knew all the history about that, and we come away with a decent result, and then we beat them 1-0, I think it was, or 2-1. Brian Roy scored late on with a wonderful goal and took us through the next leg. Then you realised, after that home game, wow, This is a proper competition. This is. Do you see how excited those fans were? The lads were like talking to each other. This isn't just like a normal home game. This is incredible. This. So you wanted more.
Stone has made that run through the middle. And here's Stone now. He's in the clear. Steve Stone. It's there. The winning goal on Saturday, which he said was a fluke. There was nothing fluky about that.
5 men in this attack here. Lalonde. That's a tremendous shot as well. And Crossley is earning his money for Nottingham Forest tonight. Forward by Gemmell. Oh, look at this. McGregor gets the other side of Laville. Oh, Meta comes all the way. Oh, and there's a chance. And it's handball, is it, by Laville? Penalty. And he's going to go off, I think. He's already been booked for a foul. And I think the number 4 is going to have to go anyway, because that was probably a red card in itself. He's gone. He's off. It's a penalty to Forest. Stuart Pearce. Oh, the keeper saves it, and there's McGregor. And there's a goal! Paul McGregor! Nottingham Forest are through to the last 8 of the UEFA Cup. They continue to represent the FA Carling Premiership. They gain the 0-0 draw that sees them through, courtesy of the 1 goal in the first leg. Well, Forest do have a free kick almost immediately, so let's see if they can make an early reply to Klinsmann's goal. It's Phillips who's actually going to curl this in. Borland is up there. Stone is coming in. Oh, it's in! Steve Chettle has equalised within a minute, and the goalkeeper thought the ball had gone out.
There's Stone.
Oh, he's got it back beautifully from Lee, and Steve Stone scores! A consolation for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I knew my knee wasn't great, I've got to be honest with you. I'd been having cortisone injections in it for the last sort of 3 years. And at the time I didn't realise what cortisone was or what it was doing to my body. And it was basically rotting the tendon away. It was masking the pain and rotting the tendon. And it just snapped eventually, my tendon. It was something that a basketball player would get to a high jump. I would get, you know, so I was a freak injury and something that they'd never really seen before, the doctor or the physio, and it was devastating really. I was looking to go on and hopefully build with that Forest team. Hopefully they would sign a few players and we could actually take this club forward again to the next level. And slowly but surely it just went the other way. It all came tumbling down around very, very quickly, and this is where the sad part of Forest for me started really. Stuart Pearce got injured, and that was the real start of when the football club started to take a little bit of a decline, and that was all because our squad wasn't big enough to take what was about to come. For me, I was devastated that Frank had left. He was such a... I felt because he was from the same area as me in Newcastle, and I felt like I had a relationship and a bond with him, and I felt like he could give me a talking to a Rolligan like nobody else could, and he knew I knew how to take it, and he knew that I knew what he's talking about. I felt for him as a man and a person, as a football manager, that when he was talking to us, he meant it from the heart. And that's how Frank was. He was such an honest and good guy that you wanted to play from. So him leaving was a huge, huge hole in my game, really, the confidence that I'd built.
What about Stuart taking over? I know you weren't playing under Stuart, so it was difficult, you were injured, but how did the players take to him going from a player to a manager? Because that's a strange gap to fill, I guess.
In Stuart's defence, the players weren't good enough. And Stuart was getting the best out of the players with what he could. And Stuart was a good coach. Even at that very young age, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to set teams up. He knew how to lead dressing rooms, and he knew how to lead people. Stuart's always been that sort of guy. But when the players aren't good enough, it's as simple as that. You can't get anything from them. You know, once they cross that white line, Stuart can't get anything, you know. Stuart used to speak to me and he'd say, I need 7 new players in that dressing room. And I'd say, you need 11. They're just not good enough. Dave came in for his reputation really to get all promoted. And Dave had a great reputation of bringing teams together. He'd been manager of Wimbledon. He got everybody together going in the right direction. He brought a couple of guys in who had played under him before, who he knew would do the right things in the dressing room to try and get us all focused and back together. And he was terrific at doing that. He used a core of 13 players and put them out every week and just got them focused on playing football and winning football matches. And we had Pierre up front and we had Kevin Campbell up front, and they were scoring goals for fun. But he was old school manager in terms of getting the lads together for a night out, all together on a pre-season trip, saying, I don't care what you do, I don't care what time you come in tonight, I don't care if you have 20 beers, 30 beers, as long as you're all turned up for training in the morning and you get on with it and nobody gets locked up in a police cell, I'm absolutely delighted. Because that's what he wanted. He wanted us all to try and get together, and this was in pre-season, and it was a masterstroke in what he did. Bringing a team together. It's very difficult to do that these days with the type of footballers are different in terms of the drinking culture, for example, the way you have different sort of people with different backgrounds, and you get little cliques these days. There's nothing wrong with that, it's just different.
Here's Campbell. Thomas has made a great burst into the box, but it's Bonner! Marshall save, Van Hooydonk go for the ball, but he's run there! Forest have equalised, and Van Hooydonk gets his first league goal of the season. Gemmell. Stone, fine pass, Van Hooydonk's away, bustles off Cundy, draws the goalkeeper and scores! He's unstoppable.
Van Hooydonk, Stone again, oh he rode that brilliantly, gets the shot and his deflected, is there! They've taken the lead against the Throstles, the champions in championship style.
To be honest, I was let down by other players in that Forest dressing room. There was everybody in that dressing room at the time when Pierre went on strike, and we didn't know Pierre's situation, and we didn't realise he'd been promised he could leave or whatever was going on. But as a footballer, if your contract to the football club, you come back, you play, you work your socks off, and then you work your move out of that. And Pierre did the wrong thing by doing what he did, and I told him so to his face. The problem was, as soon as Pierre did come back, when we started losing games after 3 months, all them people in that dressing room, which had actually been prompting the speaker, who was me, who was going out, because I was the main man in that team at the time, now started to side with Pierre because they were weak people and couldn't handle Pierre coming back in that dressing room. And they know it, and they know it to this day, that probably they let themselves down, and they also let that football club down in terms of, if we would have just got rid of Pierre like that and all come and stuck together and got somebody else in, we might have actually survived by being a group. But as soon as Pierre came back in, the whole place just went like that, and I just went, I'm out, because people had let us down. It's as simple as that, and you have to be true to your word. I've spoke to Pierre since, I played against him, no problem with him whatsoever. It's what happens at a football club at that time. That is no problem. You get on with it and you deal with it. Once it's gone and you've left, I can shake hands with Pierre now, and he knows what he did was probably wrong, but was probably right for him as an individual footballer. But for that football club, that was wrong. Fans need to know that the club that they support is unique, and that's no bull. I've been to and played for other football clubs, and they're not unique. When you walk into Newcastle, you get the same feeling because of the city and how it is, and the iconic stadium and where it sits, and the type of people the Geordies are, and how much they love the football. And Nottingham has that same feel. It's got, the city is just down the road. You can walk to the ground from the city centre basically. So you get a party type atmosphere already from when you get off the train as an away fan. You see people walking across and into Trent Bridge, and the minute you get into that stadium, you have a feeling of, this is a good club. And when you walk in as a player, you have a feeling of, this is a proper football club surrounded by history. And that's the best you can say about any football club.